Hi guys, welcome back and thanks for watching another recap of the last 24 hours and the outlook for the next 24. So coming into the market today, sentiment was extremely bearish with headlines fixating on a rise in coronavirus cases outside of China, most notably in Iran, Italy, and South Korea. On top of this, Goldman Sachs slashed its US growth forecasts and predicted a more severe impact from the epidemic. The bearish sentiment resulted in risk-off flows into safe havens, primarily US Treasuries and gold, and also led to an inversion of the 3-month 10-year yield curve. So those were the primary fundamental drivers of sentiment today. Let's jump in and take a look at the price action. Here we've got a daily chart of the S&P 500 as usual, and you can see we've sold off through the 20 and the 50-day moving averages and have closed beneath them for the first time since October 9th of last year. The market paused 1 point ahead of the most recent swing low, just above 3,200, this level right here. Yeah, so you can see the low of today was 32.13 and 3/4. The low from January 1st was 32.12 and 3/4. So yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at. We traded up towards the 3,400 level we've been watching and have sold off pretty hard to start the week and have halted a little bit here. We may have found some dip buyers around this last swing low. So let's take a closer look and switch to an hourly chart. All right, so this is last Wednesday. We came about 2.5 points from the 3,400 level I've been covering, and we finally traded through the 3,350 level and managed to close below it on Friday. We opened up on Sunday, continued to sell off down to the daily support I mentioned earlier. So this is what was put in at the end of January. So this is the last day of January where we put in that low, and then the following days we had these couple little levels of support, which we revisited today. So let's update the hourly levels and then take a closer look at price action going into today's session. So this high is the same. We've got a couple of minor levels below that. This level here, let's zoom in a little bit here. All right. So this support turned into resistance very cleanly. The 3,500 level is pretty sloppy looking now. Let's clean this up and get rid of these levels. Go to the box. I'm actually just going to get rid of all of these and update them. So let's take a look back at the last time we were here. So this is today. I'm just gonna scroll back to when we were here at the start of February. So these were those levels. This wasn't a very clean break. I'm not gonna highlight that for now. I'm just gonna put in some of these levels and just update them. What I'm doing is I'm just looking at the hard right side of the chart, essentially looking at the last time we were there and identifying if it was a valid level or if it was disregarded by the market. So this one was this level. I don't consider that to be too significant, just gonna get rid of it. This one certainly did provide a little bit of support, could provide resistance if we get back up there. I'll mark this low prior to the end of the week last week. And pretty choppy, volatile price action. This level was the low. I'm actually gonna make this a little bit heavier because that's a daily level. And these levels here, I'll leave those in there so we can look at them when we review how price traded on the 5 minutes. So those are the updated levels. Let's take a, well, actually, let's check some levels below that to make sure those are updated. Gonna have to change the look back period of the chart here. Let's go 60 days back. All right. So might be a next target on the downside. And then we've got here and this level here that was resistance, and then support there. Let's make this a little wider so we can get a better look at it. Tighten these up. These clusters are more like a diagonal trend line rather than just a level of support. I'll show you what I mean. So these levels were more of a diagonal trend line. It's not entirely relevant for what I'm looking for, so I'm not going to highlight any of those in particular. This, however, this level of resistance that turned into support would be a minor level, and then this will be a major level. So let's get those in there. It's a major level. I'm going to make that dotted because it's worth noting, could be used as a target. And I just updated it to the low of this candle because that's the last time we were there. Let's put in some more. That's a minor level. And this should do us for now. Just got to get that. Yeah, we weren't able to close below it. Yeah, that's good. All right, so that wraps it up for updating the major levels that we're looking at. So let's drop down to the 5-minute and take a look at how price traded during the active session today. All right, so this is a 5-minute chart showing today's price action. We opened right here, so this was the first candle of the day. Pretty strong one. Let's get our rectangle tool here. So these lows were put in during the extended hours, a couple hours before we opened, and we broke through them. However, we were breaking directly into a level of support, so we found buyers, continued to trade up to about this level of supply. After that, we had some pretty interesting breaks, and keep in mind the volatility, the average range of these bars that we're looking at ranged anywhere from 5 to maybe 7.5, and that's about twice the range that we typically see or that we have seen over the last 6 months during active sessions. So very volatile day. So let's just review it. So we broke the levels before the market opened that were put in overnight, found buyers at support, traded up, and broke this minor level. Actually, we could probably extend that thing out. Get my tool. All right, so after we traded up, we found sellers again, broke this minor level of support, tested it for resistance a couple of times, and then continued to trade down to retest that level of support. By now, that level has been chopped up, so we're going to get rid of it, at least for now. So the market interacted with the level, but ultimately decided that it's not a clear level of support and resistance anymore. So, all right, we continued to break through any levels of support that were put in, test them as resistance, and continue to move on until we couldn't do that any longer. This final level, as we approached this thick line, was that major level of support. Just to refresh your memory, it was from these lows at the end of January. So that's what this thick line is. So we continue to break lower, and as we approached that level, we started to see some rejection wicks down here right above that level, and we moved up pretty strongly and broke these recent highs, tested them as support, moved up to a prior level. So pretty honestly, for the volatility, it was pretty clean price action today, and we just have since continued to trade back down, and it's very likely that we'll test this level that we've been watching on the daily. So that looks to be a pretty important level. We haven't quite gotten there. We were about a point away from that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how price trades around that moving forward. So that's it for the recap of the trading session. So next, let's take a look at upcoming event risk, both scheduled and non-scheduled. All right, taking a look at the scheduled events that we have for tomorrow. Not a whole lot really. Consumer confidence tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central. The Richmond Manufacturing Index. These might be interesting, but to be honest, the price action is going to be absolutely dominated by the coronavirus news. Any updates that we get regarding any measures that countries are taking, any new developments along that. I mean, you'll just have to see what the headlines are to see what's driving the market tomorrow. So, yep, that's what we've got coming up tomorrow. So let's just go ahead and take a look and have a review of the most likely levels that we're going to test next before we wrap up. All right, so back to the hourly. I do want to highlight that 3350 level just because it was so relevant in the past. There's not really a very clear line in the sand for it right now, but I would like to keep this highlighted just because it's it's not necessarily a level so much as a zone. If we get back up there, it's going to be something to keep a close eye on as far as what price exactly in there will be the most important line in the sand. So below us, I actually boldened. Yeah, let's go to the daily. The low from January 8th. When we scrolled back on the hourly, we identified this level. It actually is a daily level. So we've got two very, very important levels below us in the zone of 31.81 and 32.12. That's kind of flanking another major round number. So we've got levels above and below this 3200 level. So this 3200 level is going to be incredibly important. It's quite a wide zone. Honestly, these are probably worth looking at it in a similar way as we looked at the 3350 level. So this is a very, very significant level. So we'll see. It's very likely that we test this area. It's so wide though that if we did break the upper bound, we're not, we do have that lower bound to consider. So it's possible that the market trades down here and will, depending on what happens fundamentally, it's possible that the market looks at the coronavirus risk as transitory, meaning that the market could look at it as something that's not going to have any lasting effect on the economy. That's one reason we've rallied recently. However, the exact opposite of that is another potential catalyst. So time will tell. So on the downside, we've got a heck of a lot of levels down there. It'll be really interesting to see which of those get respected and which do not. This level we're sitting right above is a very important decision-making point. If we do trade higher, I mean, we're relatively oversold. So if we do get a bounce, it could come from this zone. Upside levels, honestly, this isn't the most significant. And this one, I'll leave that in there because it was the high of the week so far. So we could test this level. Sellers might decide to come up through here, or if we have a gap close trade, if the market has enough bullish momentum to get up to the close of the prior week, we've got that 3350 level just above. So really, we've got this massive level just below us, or this massive zone below us. We've got the 3350 level, which the market is sure to remember. Let's bring that over. So, and then in between, we've got these levels in between. So it's going to be a couple of levels I'm watching. Really, though, the most important thing is going to be any of the headlines that we have coming out surrounding the coronavirus. It's always possible unexpected headlines come out. And if they do, we'll just include them in our review. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll be back in about 24 hours for another update.